We ought to be live, I think. Let us just make sure. And there we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of the ZA Report. Joe Cruiser, how you doing, brother? Break more, steal more, eat more, and love more Incorporated should be delisted now. Yeah, I would agree. I do think we're going to be talking about it a little bit. There's still a lot that can happen, right? And there's still a lot that can go wrong. But before we get into that, I hope that you guys had a wonderful day. It's, of course, Monday. So I'm sure for a lot of you, this was not necessarily the nicest of days. I don't know what it is, but Mondays is just always difficult. I don't know why. I genuinely don't. But Mondays is just, it's a unique day. It's like every single Monday I wake up and it feels like I need a break from the weekend. I don't drink. I don't go out. I don't party. That's not my life. And yet, every single Monday I wake up and I'm like, man, I need a break. This weekend was busy. So yeah, I don't know. Mondays is a rough day. We should actually just get Mondays off as well. Or maybe like half days. Like a half day Monday, I think would be actually pretty cool. Go in, do a couple of things, get home by 1 and, just sort of recover so you can get ready for the rest of the week. It's rough. Moreover, I really wanted to start today with a question. And this isn't the topics that I have planned for tonight or anything. And by the way, tonight's going to be a bit more interactive. I want to talk to you guys. I want to hear what you guys think, what you feel. Endless, how you doing, brother? But I have a question, right? With how advanced our mobile companies, our internet companies, our banking company, like our banking industry, with how advanced they are. Wait, it's a black screen? What do you mean? It shouldn't be a black screen. Gunrod, maybe just do a reload of your screen because it should not be black. At least from my side, it's perfectly working. Friday's coming too fast to worry about Monday. Daisy, I don't know if I agree with that. It doesn't feel like it, at least not to me. I can see fine. Pete, how you doing, brother? So the thing for me is, with how advanced our industries are, and this is part of the problem that we're going to be talking about in a little bit, but South Africa has this insane world, right? We are probably one of the most unique countries in the world where we have some industries that are completely first world. They're front and center, probably more advanced than most other countries. I have a lot of friends in the US as well as in Europe. And I can tell you guys without any reservations, we have some of the best internet in the world. I don't know a single one of my friends who live in the UK or in Europe that have 1,000 megabit up and down line. In Europe, in America, in the UK, if you have 100 megabit per second up downline, maybe 20 megabits down or up, right? It's not a 1-to-1 ratio. It's like a 1 or 2-to-1 ratio, or maybe if you're very lucky, you might get a 1 to 75% ratio, something to that effect. But our internet is incredibly fast. It's incredibly well advanced. Our mobile industry, it's very expensive, but it still actually works. Xavier, how you doing, bro? So here's my question. How is it not possible for MTN, Cell C, Vodacom, or any of the other carriers to build a no-call list? How is this the one technology that we don't have in South Africa? I cannot go to Vodacom and be like, hey, boys, how about I pay you $50 a month and you take my name off of any call list? If there's a telemarketer that wants to sell something, they're not allowed to call me. I would desperately like to know why we don't have such a list in South Africa. This morning I made a video. In the middle of the video, I received a phone call from FNB, my bank that I bank with, trying to sell me an account. I already have an account with FNB, but apparently they think I need another one for some reason. I've received 2 more calls, one from some insurance company, another from, I think, also an insurance company, 1991 or some shit like that. I don't know. Also an insurance company. And I just, there's no way to stop it. I've asked these companies before to remove my name from their list. Am I the only one that deals with this? Is there anyone else in chat that feels my level of frustration with these? I don't even know what to call these companies. These telemarketers. What is your marketing calls received last week? Driving you mad? Marius, I feel you, bro. I feel you. Like, I don't know what to do. It is... I already hate getting phone calls, right? I hate when my phone rings because it always rings when I'm in the middle of working. Because if I'm making a video, so I'm sitting here, I'm recording, my phone rings. Guess what I have to do? I have to stop the video because obviously the phone is ringing in the microphone. So I have to stop or pause my recording because now I have to check. Okay, that'll just phone me. Oh, I don't know this number. Probably a telemarketer. But I always answer because who knows, right? It might be someone that actually needs to speak to me. And since, I know a lot of people at church. I'm friends with a lot of people at church. There might be someone at church that is trying to phone me. It might be their number. So I always answer. And 9 times out of 10, I've just been interrupted by a telemarketer. I think I know what I have to do. Here's what I think I have to do. I think I have to start writing down the names of every single company that calls me. And then I just do a video every single day calling out these companies by name. By name. I should make a video where I call out these companies and just trash them for everything they've got. Maybe that will work. Maybe we should just shame these telemarketers into submission. Okay, so here's my problem with Truecaller. I don't like phones. I hate phones. So my phone is something Samsung. I want to say it's an A51, but I might be lying. But let's say A51. This phone is maybe 6 or 7 years old. Something to that effect. I bought it when I still lived in Pretoria, and I've lived in Cape Town for 4 years. I bought it at the beginning of moving to Pretoria, and I lived in Pretoria for 3 years. So it's almost 7 years old, actually, at this point, this phone. So when I have Truecaller on this phone, it slows this bad boy down a lot. Like, answering a phone call becomes like a 20-second experience. I don't have any apps on this phone. No X, no YouTube, no nothing. This phone is for phone calls and WhatsApp. That's it. That's all I have on this phone. And even then, I wish I could throw this thing against the wall, never look at it again. I hate this phone. So yeah, for me, Truecaller isn't really an option. I had it for a while, but it just slows things down. 5 calls a day, cold calling in breach of Poppy Act. I don't think the Poppy Act exists. Quite frankly, I think it doesn't matter. Airline is slow phones. Well, it does the phone calling thing. So, in that sense, it works as far as I'm concerned. I get 7 to 8 a day. And then on my private phone and the work phone, how do we stop this? Rita, this is my exact question. How is it that if someone from Vodacom or MTN is actually listening to this, why don't you make a no-call list like what exists in America? Tekla, how you doing, brother? What exists in America, even Europe has this, where I can go to my carrier, like Vodacom, MTN, and I can say, hey, boys, I want to be on this list. How much is it going to be? Then charge me $50. $50 a month. Charge me so that I never get a call again from any of these telemarketers. I should be able to opt out of this nonsense because this is cancer. It's genuinely the worst thing in the world. And I'm sort of reminded, it's way too vulgar and I will never repeat the joke. But how many of you know Casper de Vries in chat? Christo, how you doing, bro? Charlene, how you doing? I don't know how many of you know Casper de Vries, but he had a joke once where I can't remember. It's something to do with the ANC. He was saying something about the ANC, but he went off and he said, "I'd rather be finger blasted by a cow." That's sort of how I feel when it comes to these telemarketers. Isaac, how you doing, brother? But okay, so that's not what this video is about or this live stream is about. That's not the point of the live stream, but just before I went live, I was reminded again of these callers, and I got annoyed. I'll be honest. It annoys me to no end. I genuinely hate it. No, today we're going to be talking about the ANC. We're going to be talking specifically about what the future of the ANC looks like. How do we get to where we are? Because I think all of you will agree there's been an uptick of bad press for the ANC. I mean, we all went through the Zuma era, right? Where it felt like almost every month, every 6 months, there would be some story of how the ANC and specifically the Zuma people are stealing or looting the country dry. It feels like that times 10. I genuinely sit down every single day of my life and I open all of the media sites, all of them. There isn't a single day where I open these sites and I'm not met with some kind of scandal that is attached to the ANC. Either the Tembisa hospital scandal, we have the Russian plane gate, I guess we should call it now. We have the Russian helicopter gate that has just been made known to us, where Russia is literally helping us smuggle helicopters to Libya for their war, I guess you could say. We're funding terrorist regimes around the world. If we're not funding the regimes themselves, the regimes are funding us. So it is just day in, day out, there's some big new thing that's landed in our lap. That on its own wouldn't be enough to take down the ANC, but it feels like there's sort of been a perfect storm. Daycliff, how you doing? Enigma, how you doing? Colin, how you doing, bro? A Wild Bear, how you doing? There's a perfect storm that is hitting the ANC, one that they could never have prepared for. And this is sort of the problem with bad management. It's the problem with being corrupt and not thinking about the future. And that is that as long as things go well, you can sort of get away with it. So, for example, do you think America is any less corrupt? The answer is no. America is also a very corrupt nation. There is a lot of corruption there. But things work for the most part, right? The economy is growing. People have jobs. New jobs are created. The government, by and large, does its job. And so the corruption that is there isn't really enough to sink the country. The problem in South Africa is that the corruption is combined with extremely bad governance. This bad governance has led to a complete meltdown of our economy. I just saw before going live here, we now have I should get this right, it is the governor of the South African Reserve Bank that tried to make the case on the Daily Investor that the South African rand is finally stable. He wants people to understand that the rand is no longer weak and volatile. The rand is strong and stable. It's not. It really isn't. You see, this is just more spin. It's just more spin. So why is the rand? Someone asked me this earlier today, so I'll gladly give that answer now. Someone asked me in the video, in the comment section, why is the rand so strong, quote unquote, when all of this bad stuff is happening? So there's a couple of reasons. The first is currency strength is not an indication of economic situations. It can be tied to it, but it's not an indicator of it. You can have an incredibly strong currency, and yet the economic reality of your country can be very, very bad. Take, for example, the British pound. The British pound is one of the strongest currencies in the world. The British economy is in the dumps. Currencies, by and large, is speculative. People speculate on how it's driven by sentiment, right? So when investors, these are very large investors that trade in the trillions, not just in the billions or the millions. These are super large investors. But when they want to make money, they'll buy currencies. And South Africa currently benefits from two main factors that really helps us. The first is the uncertainty around America. Because of Trump's tariffs, and most investors don't know how to deal with the tariff situation, they're very sort of, let's say, they're very scared of jumping in on the dollar. They're going to have to see these policies actually play itself out. Now, I am of the belief that Trump's policies will lead to incredible economic growth in America, but it's not going to happen overnight, right? A factory isn't built in 6 months. A factory can take upwards of 2-3 years to be completed. But we already know from the initial data, there are hundreds of factories being built all across the United States. Why? Because Trump's big, beautiful bill made it so that if you build your factory in the United States, you can claim 100% of the building costs back as taxes, or from your taxes. You can literally deduct it from your taxes. So you're effectively building a free factory. That's literally what that means. 100% reclaimable. That's insane. That's genuinely insane. So hundreds of factories are going up. Those factories are going to employ people. Those factories are going to make stuff. Those things that they make is going to be exported. So America is going to be fine, but that's going to take a while. The second thing that is really helping the South African economy, or the rand rather at this point, is commodity prices. We are currently in a commodities boom. This is very much helped by Russia and Ukraine and the Russian economy seeming to struggle. This has just led to soaring gold prices, and South Africa is an incredible exporter of gold. We have a lot of it, so obviously that makes sense. But silver prices also, we have a lot of silver. Copper prices, we have that too. So we're currently benefiting a lot from sort of just what is in our earth, right? And we can export that. That really helps the rand. That rarely lasts. So commodity booms can last anywhere from like 6 months to 8 months before they tend to calm down. And they'll probably calm down within the next few months. And when that happens, the rand's going to go right back up to being over 18. I suspect if the ANC's 10-point plan is implemented, the rand will go to 20, probably even higher. So the rand isn't in a great spot. And that's sort of part of the problem. When you start to put the ANC's current position together, very weak economy, very bad governance decisions, right? The ANC is a piss poor government. Excuse my French, but there's no other way to put that. The ANC is a terrible government. Or they run the country just absolutely abysmally bad. If you start to combine that with that, and then very corrupt, you have effectively a recipe for disaster. And I believe we're at the end of that rope. I believe that the ANC is in the death throes of this current sort of, shall we call it, the leg of their existence. Ordinarily, that would be a good thing, right? That means the ANC is done. But I did some research. I thought, okay, where else have we seen this? Where else has this happened? Turns out we don't have to look too far. We have to go just across the border, actually, to Zimbabwe. Now, I don't think what happened in Zimbabwe is going to happen in South Africa, but there's some similarities here. ZANU-PF was running out of money. ZANU-PF was on the verge of starting to lose elections when they started to take the farms, when they became increasingly more radical. Pretty much exactly the same as what is happening here. The ANC tried desperately to, I think, run the country. And I think the ANC really thought that they could slowly steer the people towards communism. So in many ways, the ANC, I think, genuinely thought that they could do what Karl Marx suggested would happen. The ANC's idea was that, because Karl Marx, for those of you that don't know, Karl Marx didn't initially think revolution is an option. Karl Marx didn't think that the government should lead a revolution or that a group should lead a revolution. Karl Marx thought that the way to communism would come through the workers, right? So the workers would be the ones that rise up against the system, and then once that happened, Caleb, how you doing, bro? Brett, how you doing? Chris, how you doing, man? Once that happened, we would end up with the communist utopia, as it were. Obviously, that doesn't ever happen, but that was the idea. And I think the ANC genuinely thought that they could make that happen. The ANC had one big problem. There's one massive issue for the ANC that they could never have accounted for. The South African promise. That's the thing that destroyed the ANC. It's the very reason why I don't believe we will have a Zim-style takeover in this country. The promise. You see, if South Africa was just a third world African failed state, Zim would 100% happen. 100%. And most people wouldn't even care. But South Africa isn't that. South Africa has never been that. In 1994, when the ANC took over, South Africa was a first world nation. It was an incredibly powerful nation. It had very evil laws on its books, sure, but as far as infrastructure was concerned, South Africa was incredible, right? And so today, South Africa has a first world service-driven economy when you come to the cities. The cities are first world. Let's be real. Almost every single city in South Africa has, to some extent, although bad first world city status, still first world city status, right? We have roads that we drive on, although Joburg probably, let's say Joburg has like 60% roads and the rest are dirt roads. Well, in between some of the tarring. There's some tar on some of Joburg's dirt roads. I think that's fair to state, right? But for the most part, it does, right? We have running water. We have, these days, electricity, although I don't know how long that's going to last for. But anyways, right? But then you look at our banking industry. You look at the businesses in South Africa. You look at the mobile, the fiber, the television offerings, the pretty much all of the internet offerings that we have. You look at Amazon, Takealot, every single amenity that you would want in a first world country, you have here in South Africa. Every single one of them. Now, the ANC continuously, the number one issue for the ANC is land. Right? That's what they want. Land. They want the land. They want to redistribute the land. Same with Julius Malema. There's a problem with this. And this goes back to the promise. Just keep in mind the word, the promise of South Africa. Just keep those words in mind. I'll explain what that is in a second. You see, both the ANC and the EFF are caught in a time loop. And it's not their fault. It's because the last time they were trained was when the world still had an agricultural economy, right? You think about this. The ANC received their training from the Soviet Union in like the 1950s, 1960s is when they got like the last time they were really trained by the Soviets in full force. Soviet Union was still largely an agricultural economy back then. Do you really think, and I think most South Africans, by the way, know this, if you look at the Institute of Race Relations, their polls show it. The vast majority of South Africans, when asked, don't want land. This is something, by the way, that shocks most people. It shocked me when I heard it for the first time. The Institute of Race Relations has a poll that they do every single year, and part of that poll is, I think it's the Institute of Race Relations. It might be one of the other polling companies, but I remember, I think it was on BizNews, where the poll reveals most South Africans don't want land. What do most South Africans want? They want to live in the city, right? They want an apartment in the city or a house in the city. They want to be able to work in an air-conditioned office. They want to have a computer. They want to have a car. They want to have something. They don't want to live in the rural areas of South Africa working on a farm, right? Why would they want to work on a farm? They spent their entire childhood out in the rural areas. They want to get into the cities. They want to get a job in the cities where they can actually work. So the ANC and the EFF are caught in this sort of time loop where they think the land is the biggest issue in the modern era. To give you guys an example of why land does not matter. And if there's anyone watching this that supports the EFF or the ANC, thinking to yourself, yeah, we need the land. Black people need the land. If land mattered, Singapore would be the poorest country on earth. We no longer live in the 1920s. Land doesn't matter. Singapore is a tiny little island with not a single piece of farmable land. There are no real factories in Singapore because they don't have space for anything. Yet, it is the country with the largest collection of dollar millionaires per capita in the world. Why? The first revolution was the agricultural revolution, right? Really, I know the world doesn't put it that way because our first one was the industrial revolution, but really, large-scale farming was, I think, the first real revolution. Of course, we're going back probably 1,500, 1,600 years at this point. Then we have the Industrial Revolution, where we start using machines and we really unlock human potential. We're now in the fourth revolution. It is the ideas-driven economy. Ideas. If you go around South Africa, and I did some research just before this live stream, and you buy a farm in South Africa for a nice farmable farm, right? So a farm that has enough land that you can plant some stuff on, you're going to pay anywhere from 10 million to about 40 million for that farm. If you want to buy it, you can buy it for about 10 to 40 million. There are startups in the United States every single year that is sold for billions of dollars, not 10 to 40 million rand, billions of dollars. And these startups don't sell a business, they don't sell a building, they don't sell land, they sell an idea. Elon Musk is worth $500 billion, not because of his factories, not because of the cars that he sells. His ideas is what makes him that rich. So taking the land isn't going to do anything for the ANC. The people of this country don't want the land. So the ANC has its back against the wall. This new 10-point plan, just panic. That's all it is. It's the ANC in a blind panic. They don't know what to do. Now remember I told you, if we look for other countries that are in similar situations, You have a leading party that runs the country that is super communist, that is starting to lose its grip on power, that is starting to lose its votes, that has a failing economy. We need only look across the border to Zimbabwe, because this is literally what happened to the ZANU-PF. But here's why that will never happen here. The promise of South Africa is the city. You see, Zimbabwe had one city, Harare. That was sort of it. The other cities were not that developed, and even Harare wasn't that developed. It was mostly a very, very primitive country. It was doing relatively well, but it wasn't anywhere near what South Africa is. The South African industry, the way industry operates in South Africa, the fact that the worker can look at the person living in the city and go, man, this guy has a big screen TV. This guy has a nice air-conditioned apartment. This guy drives a nice Volkswagen Polo or Vivo or whatever the hell they're called nowadays, right? The fact that the worker can look at that and go, I want that, is why the ANC's revolution, or let's call it the ANC's second revolution, will fail. Because the average South African isn't interested in revolution. They're not interested in getting farms. They're interested in just getting a job so that they may be able to work their way into getting an air-conditioned apartment and a Volkswagen Polo and a bank account of some kind. And I believe that's the thing that is going to cause either complete chaos in our country, because I do see chaos. I should make that clear. I don't believe that things are going to be as peaceful as they've been. Someone said, Detlef, I think it was you, who mentioned something that I do want to pick up on. If we're talking about the future of South Africa, and specifically talking about how do you govern South Africa, I've made my position on this fairly clear. South Africa isn't a country, and South Africa can never be a country. We're not a country. We can't be one. Not right now. A country needs a couple of things, or at least a combination of a couple of things, in order to be considered a country. For one, you need one language. At the very least, you need one language that everyone can speak. We have that. Most people can speak English. If you go to the north, most white people can't really speak English, but they can try, right? If you go to more east or west, most black people can't really speak English, but they can try. So at least we can speak English together. Then you need a single culture. And what I mean by single culture isn't necessarily that everyone has to have the same culture, but everyone has to agree broadly on the moral framework. Like, what is the morality that we hold? I'll give you guys a great example of a conversation that I had about 3 weeks ago with my pastor. Actually, it was a bit more than 3 weeks ago. It was about a month ago, just after Charlie Kirk's death. I was very angry when Charlie Kirk died. And I spoke to my pastor, and I asked him, I said, at what point is civil war okay? At what point are we okay to say, look, we've tried this living together thing. This is clearly no longer working. Let's just have at it. Let's just, let's just take care of this problem. Let's divide, because this is clearly no longer working. And I won't go into that conversation. It was a pretty long conversation. But my thinking has been the following: if you want to have a country, you need to at least be able to agree on the big things. Like, we can disagree on what is the exact right amount of taxes. I say no taxes. Maybe you say some taxes, and I'm sure I can beat you to my position, right? Just give me a stick and I'll get you to see my point of view. But we can at least disagree for a bit on that one. But when it gets to things like abortion, or when it gets to things like gay marriage, for example, or when we get to sort of more difficult questions like what do we do with people who are corrupt? What do we do with people who steal public funds? What do we do with criminals that go on stages and shoot guns into the air? When it gets to those questions, we need to be able to agree on what the correct move forward is. Right? Like, we have to be able to agree on this. If we can't, you can't have a country. Because at the very least, a country needs to be able to determine what its moral requirements is going to be. The whole point of society and the success of society is its ability to enforce a moral framework upon its people. That's the whole idea behind government. That's why we formed governments in the first place, is to say, look, this is the moral framework that we as society believe in, and we want everyone to be able to conform to this belief. And the reason you need that is you can't have people working together if we can't trust each other. And I think that's the thing that South Africa fails at the most. Because when Julius Malema stood on a stage on video and fired a rifle into the air so that you can see the bullets leave the gun, like you can see the muzzle flash, his supporters said, this is racism. It's the racists that's coming after him. I'm sorry. I don't care what the white person is called. If a white guy did that, I would go to jail. Take this asshole to jail. He broke the law, and it's incredibly dangerous. I don't want this guy out and about because he clearly doesn't have the ability to exercise sound moral judgment. But of course, that's not what happens. If someone gets caught being corrupt in South Africa, I don't know if you guys saw the guy that was had all of his goods confiscated a few days ago. All of those bluish Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Porsches and all the rest of it, the tenderpreneur. Did you guys see that? You go on social media and the ANC supporters are claiming that it's racism. Whenever a black man has any money, the whites just go after him. And I'm like, dude, come now. Like, seriously, why in the hell are we playing this game? This guy is corrupt. He's stealing the money that is supposed to come to you. And every single time there is consequences for these people's actions, it's racism. You guys just don't want to see a rich black person. It's like, no, I couldn't give two craps about the skin color of the rich person. If the person got their money legitimately, you can make as much money as you want. I'm a capitalist. I want people to be rich. Right? I don't want people to be poor. But at the end of the day, right, we should be able to agree what happens to people who are corrupt. And I actually think that if you're caught being corrupt, I think you should get the death penalty. That's just my opinion. You stole money from the people that you were supposed to serve. To my mind, you should not be allowed to live because, well, it wasn't yours to take. You literally stole from poor people. So yeah, I don't know if South Africa can have a single government. A single government from Pretoria, I don't think works. It just don't. Man. Oh my, yeah. Yeah, you're actually right. It is the guy connected to that. You're right. Absolutely. If you don't want to marry someone of the same sex, then you don't have to. Then you do not have to. I really can't understand why anyone would have an issue with anyone else. Jay, well, I don't care if gay people want to be gay and they want to live together and they want to do whatever. I don't understand why they want to get married, though. Marriage is a religious institution. Moreover, it's a Christian institution. You don't need it. If you're gay, your marriage is not recognized by God because marriage is between a man and a woman. It has nothing to do with you. So why do you want to get married? You can live together. You can be in a civil relationship. You can live together. You can sleep together. I couldn't care less. You're adults. Do whatever you want. What I don't understand is why you want to take something that doesn't belong to you. Moreover, something that isn't for you and something that isn't recognized for you. That's my issue. I couldn't give two craps about what people want to do in their alone time, in the privacy of their own home. Be as gay as you want, bro. Like, I couldn't care less. But why do you want marriage? That's my issue. That's why communities like Urania and others have tremendous success. Like-minded people make ingenuity, poor conditions, activate survival mode. They live. So my thinking about South Africa and the future of South Africa is less racial and more cultural. And by that, I don't mean white culture or black culture or anything like that, right? I don't care about that. It's more, and I always put the following. Here's my one test. To anyone that thinks that we should have a racially segregated South Africa again. Would you rather have as your neighbor Hillary Clinton or Thomas Sowell? Like, who would you rather share a neighborhood with? Would you rather Bill and Hillary Clinton live next to you or Thomas Sowell? Because personally, I can't think of someone I would rather want to have a barbecue with than Thomas Sowell. I have he's my favorite economist in the entire world. He's also the owner of the greatest saying in the history of the world. Quickly listen to this saying, guys. This saying sums up every problem in South Africa in literally one quote. Mercy for the guilty is punishment for the innocent. That's a Thomas Sowell quote. Just to sort of drive home how incredible this man is, right? So I would love to live, and he's as black as they come. There's not an ounce of white in that man, right? And I would rather live next to Thomas Sowell than I would ever want to live next to Hillary Clinton, right? Hillary Clinton could jump in the ocean tomorrow and I would not bat an eyelid. Like, I couldn't give two craps about that woman. So yeah, Clean, how you doing? Honestly, don't care if they call it civil union or marriage. Honestly, just call it civil union. As long as you got the same rights as a married couple, then there is no reason to call it marriage. Jay, well, so there would be arguments there. Again, we can talk about it, because when you say same rights as a married couple, do you even understand why marriage is a thing that used to be rewarded, right? So this is the conversation. Why do we reward marriages? Because marriages are economically active. You see, in order to make new workers for the Republic, you need man and woman to live together, make children, bring those children up together in the culture of the nation, so that those children will start to contribute to the world. Men and women, or men and men and women do not make kids. They cannot make life. So there is no need for them to be protected under the law. Now, if you want to talk about protections insofar as if you break up, right, one should be able to get at least enough, so you shouldn't be able to steal from each other. Okay, fine, no problem. But if you want to talk about things like tax breaks, Why? Two men can't make life. They deserve no tax breaks because their union benefits society in no way, shape, or form. They're not bringing anything extra to the table. They're not adding new life to the world, right? So there's no point in giving them tax breaks because, well, whether they're single or married, they're going to add pretty much exactly the same to the economy. So I think there's an argument there. This is a conversation, right? I'm open to having that conversation. So I'm not hard set on any of that, right? I do think we should incentivize marriage a lot more than what we are in the current in our current societies. We need more marriage. Kids need their fathers, and we need to figure out how to stop incentivizing women to get divorces. So I think that's super important. Are you hoping to partner up with Truth Report and Morning Shot by any chance? Gatsu, how you doing, bro? I wouldn't mind, right? If Truth Report were to reach out to me, or Morning Shot were to reach out to me, yeah, I'd be. I don't know if I'd be happy to partner up. I have a severe distrust of people. Severe distrust of people. And I'm not always convinced. I would have to get to know the people who run those organizations personally to understand their own methods, because you read of people who got involved in sort of movements only to realize that that movement literally actually serves something completely different. So I'm not against it. Let me put it that way. But I would need to get to know the people, figure out who they are, what they stand for, what is important to them, what isn't important to them. Because from my perspective, what I do, right? So I don't do what I do just for money. I'll be lying if I said money had nothing to do with it. Of course, I also need to eat. I need to be able to buy my house or pay for my house, pay for my car. I need to be able to do those things, right? So those things are important to me. And they're definitely part of why I make the videos that I make. But for me, the reason I got into politics is I genuinely believe our country needs to be saved from itself. I think our country needs people who isn't just playing party games, who isn't just playing partisan games, but someone who's actually just telling the truth, right? And trying to explain to people what is actually happening. There's a reason why before I make videos, I do a ton of research. I look into the studies and what the studies say, because I believe that a democracy can only work insofar as it can work if the people are informed. Right? So that's sort of my only goal. It's one of the reasons I don't endorse any political parties. It's one of the reasons I will never ever tell you who to vote for. That's not my job. My job is to tell you what the parties are doing. Your job is to decide who you want to vote for. So I will never tell you who to vote for. I will never tell you who I'm voting for, because you don't need to know that. It has nothing to do with you. I will tell you what every single political party does. I will tell you what they do when they're doing good things, what they do when they do bad things, when they really screw up. And I feel like as long as I don't endorse anyone, I don't feel any need or pressure to hide some of the bad stuff that they're doing. And that's sort of the thing that makes me afraid of partnering with people, is suddenly I want to make a video that's anti-DA. And now I get an email from whatever organization going, actually, we don't like, you shouldn't be saying anything against the DA. The DA is a pretty big sponsor of the channel. And now I'm like, wait, but what the hell, man? Like, I'm not, I don't care. I don't want to. I want to be able to make this video. So yeah, on that front, I would be a little bit hesitant. No childless couple to gain any benefits either. There are also other benefits that comes with being married besides tax breaks, like inheritance. Yeah, but Jay, well, if you're gay, who's inheriting what? The truth is definitely not on MSM anymore. That's why we're watching you, an independent podcast. Mike, I appreciate that. I genuinely do. I appreciate every single one of you that support this channel. Stay solo, yes, and individual. The moment a company speaks, free speech is out the door. Yeah, I agree with you. I think by and large, I like being on my own. I like doing my own thing because I only answer to you. You, my audience, are the boss. As long as I'm doing a good job and I'm doing the job that you came here for, you'll support me, hopefully. Right? Or maybe you decide, screw it, this guy's boring, and you leave. In which case, okay, cool. No worries, right? That is your choice. But I'm only beholden to you. I'm not beholden to any other political party. I'm not beholden to any organizational group. It's just me and you, right? And I kind of like it that way. Good evening, Mr. Zimbabwe just got money from EU for health, 4 million. We love that because we have oil and gas mining by Australia and Qatar right now. Terrence, good man. I'm glad for you, man. The EU's money never comes without massive strings attached. So if you guys are willing to dance, yeah, sure. No worries. Enough reason to support Cape independence before this by Holy Smokes. Now I got more reasons since the Cape is generally more aligned with my personal views than what is expressed here. Jay, well, the Cape independence movement, right? If you want to support that, that's your absolute right to do, right? And I don't mind that, right? If the Western Cape wanted to go independent, I would not necessarily be against that. It'd be fine for me. But what I don't understand, right, is why that is the thing that drives you. Like, my views on homosexuality is the thing that drives you to want to vote for Cape independence. You do realize that I live in the Western Cape. So if it became independent, I would still be fighting against gay marriage. Just now, the fight would be much easier to win, because about 72% of South Africans don't believe that gays should be able to get married. Just so you know, the majority of South Africans agree with me. South Africa is an incredibly conservative country. The fact that we don't have a conservative government is actually criminal. It's criminal. If you started a conservative party in South Africa that genuinely stood for conservative values, you'd win. You would win. It will take a while to convince people of your position, but you'd absolutely clean up. All these politicians don't have the stones to act accordingly, only know how to steal taxes from the economy. Kurtz, you're absolutely not wrong. South Africans are desperate for truth. The more create the report, their people really realize the lunacy going on. It's really disturbing. I do agree with you, Dateleaf, but one of the things that I desperately need, and it's one of the things that I'm working towards, it's one of the reasons that I appreciate that we're moving closer to that 50K mark, and I'm hoping that we can get to that 50K mark. But one of the things I need to get is an investigative journalist. Because right now, the reporting I do is looking at all of the news sources that I can find, and out of the 5, 6, 7, 8 articles that's written on it, piecing together what is the truth, right? And then giving you guys what I discern to be the truth. My hope is that in time, I'll be able to get actual investigative journalists so that now I can actually say, look, go and investigate Julius Malema, or go and investigate Cyril Ramaphosa. Money is no object. Go and find the dirt. Tell me what the hell this guy did. Bring the evidence. Let's put together a full report on the evil of this guy, that guy, or the other. I need something like that, right? So my plan, the thing that I'm working towards, is that a full-blown independent media organization that actually does the research itself, so that I don't have to rely on Daily Maverick, Daily Investor, News 24, or any of the others. I can literally send my own people out, and they can go find the information that I need. If people do what people want to do, they refuse to follow the law. They know that. Let them one day go and explain before him. Point. Xavier. So again, I should make this clear. If someone, I have family members who are gay, whom I love very, very dearly. Right? I love them, and I don't want to see any harm come to them. I would never be okay with people bashing the gays or anything like that. Like, absolutely not. Right? So from my perspective, I have nothing against gay people. Principally, right, there are things that I have a problem with. And marriage would be one of them. If you're gay, I don't see any point for you to get married, right? And then there's other problems, as we just discussed, with tax benefits, for example, or marriage benefits. Why would you need this as a gay person or as a gay couple? Right. So from my perspective, yes, every single person is going to answer before God, right? And I believe that. But I also believe that I am placed on this earth to try and stop, or at least try to convince as many people to not stand before God and be turned to his wrath, right? That's my role. My job is to preach the gospel to as many people as possible and hopefully get them to join me as brothers in Christ. So I will always speak up and speak out against that, and I will always hope that people will change their minds. But hey, if someone says to me, look, man, I'm gay and I don't care, this is what I want, great, that's your choice and you're allowed to make it. When it comes to marriage, though, that's a different discussion. So yeah, if it's John 1, verse 19, or something around that boils down to God has granted you permission to stomp the serpents. I'd have to check that, Caleb. We can only do our best. Of course, Xavier, that's 100% true. You are in the simmer down stage of end apartheid. Think of US having intended many decades ago compared to SA, and they still going on about racism. Deadlift, but they didn't used to. The big racism debate in 2008 was gone. America didn't fight about racism in 2008. Barack Obama was the man who brought grievance politics to America. Barack Obama. Prior to Barack Obama, they did not have grievance politics. Black people weren't screaming at the top of their lungs about some perceived nonsense that happened decades earlier. In fact, race relations in America were the best they had ever been in 2008. Today, it's the worst that it's ever been. And it's all because of grievance politics. Once you convince someone that they are a victim, they'll never be able to save themselves. Ever. That's the whole point of turning someone into a victim. Because a victim needs a savior. And once you can tell someone you are a victim, then who's the savior? The politician that's about to become your oppressor. That's the facts. And that's one of the things that I'm fighting against here in South Africa. I desperately want black people to stop thinking about themselves as victims. I desperately want black people to realize that if you don't take ownership of your failures, regardless of what anyone else did, was apartheid unfair? Of course it was. Is there anything you can do about it now? No, there isn't. And here's why. Poverty isn't a circumstance. Poverty is a mindset. You want to know how you know that? Show me the person that is on the street that isn't there because of their own decisions. I make a point of speaking to hobos or the homeless. I don't know if hobo is politically correct anymore. I make a point of speaking to them. And every single one of them have the same story. And it boils down to this: I didn't want to take responsibility for my life, and so I ran away. And I have been spending my entire life running away from any and all responsibility. Poverty is a mindset. It doesn't matter. Like, we can take all of the money that white South Africans have and give it to black South Africans, and they will be poor within a decade. Because poverty is a mindset. And until you change that mindset and realize that, wait a second, I'm not a victim. I have agency. I have the ability to find a job. I have the ability to work hard. Until that happens, we can give you a blank check and you will be poor again. Again, how do we know this? Look at every single lottery winner ever. Where do every single one of them end up in? Where do they all end up? Poorer than what they were before they won the lottery. Because now they don't just have no money, they tend to have insane debt to come out of that. That's the issue. Unless you can change it here, it'll never change in reality. And that's the thing that I desperately want black people, but young people in South Africa to realize. Change this. Change this and the success will come. And look, maybe the success isn't going to come for you, right? Maybe you're not going to be the richest guy, right? Maybe you're not going to be a millionaire, but maybe you can make enough to send your kid to school. And your kid will be in a position where their kid might be rich. Right? Like, get your mindset away from what you want right now and towards what's in the future. Like, that's something I've been struggling with for a long time. Because I used to live my life very much just in the here and now. I didn't want responsibilities. I didn't want to think about marriage. One of the big reasons I am not married and I have never been married is this, right? I didn't want responsibility. I didn't want to be responsible for a wife or for children. I wanted to live my life, and I wanted to be. I want everything to be the way that I want it to be, and I don't want to sacrifice for anyone else. And one of the things that I've realized is that doesn't lead to happiness, right? Happiness is sacrificing and recognizing that you can only serve by sacrificing. You have to be willing to do that. And until we can get to that point, black people are going to continue to find that their politicians will steal from them. Their politicians will rob them blind. Julius Malema will do it. Cyril Ramaphosa will do it. Gayton McKenzie is going to do it. To a man, every single one of your politicians are going to rob you blind. Thanks for the chat and for all the efforts. Really appreciate it. Have a good evening. Take care. Spread the love. Be safe. Ciao. Xavier, thanks for hanging out, sir. Really appreciate you as well. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Albert Schweitzer. Now go figure the factor. Gert, Albert Schweitzer. Let me see. I'm just going to write that down. I always like reading new things. All right. I have that jotted down. I'll definitely go check it out. Mike, I'm still here. It's just Xavier, I think, that had to go now. I would live on a farm any day as opposed to the city, but that's just me. Honey Brandt, yeah, different people are going to do their own thing, right? If anyone disagree with same-sex couples getting tax breaks, then we should just abolish taxes altogether, because I'm down for that. Jay, I again just come down to, so I do think personal income tax should be abolished. I don't think personal income tax is moral. You want to tax things that you want to dissuade people from doing. Personal income tax is basically dissuading people from earning an income. I don't think that that's in any way, shape, or form moral. So I would be okay with abolishing personal income tax. But again, we can have the conversation about what marriage is for and why we want to make marriage look as attractive as is humanly possible, because we need more people, right? That's the whole point. I am now on Linux. Yay, freedom for Microsoft. Yeah, but Caleb, no freedom because complete slavery to the systems of Linux. Like, no, thank you. Pluck chickens will follow. So, guys, what else? What is there that you guys are thinking about? Oh, I should just mention to you guys. You guys know the fire that happened at Fort Hare? The university? You don't know about this, Dateleaf? So I didn't make a video on it because it happened on Friday and I already made other videos, so I didn't have another slot left. But effectively, some students started protesting at Fort Hare, and as you would do, right? You're protesting fees at the university, and so you burn the university down, or at least some of the buildings, because if there's one way to ensure that the fees come down, it's destroying the property of the university, because who's going to fix that? But anyway, so they burned some of the buildings at Fort Hare. Yes, it is exactly that. But here's the interesting thing: the chancellor of Fort Hare made, and I literally read the article just before we went live on Daily Maverick, where the chancellor of the university, or the president, I don't know if we call them chancellors here, I think we do, made a chilling allegation. The chancellor said that the protests were politically driven. They have evidence that shows that the protests were politically driven. So according to the chancellor, he calls it the third force. I'm still angry at the politicians. When we did the video, I shared it widely, showing the destruction. I looked at that and I sent it around, but I felt that the politicians missed a big moment here. Some are trying to rationalize, but they won't admit that the third force is on the inside. The criminals are amongst the staff and students, watching those students torch the staff center and then cheer. You almost feel like asking, can't you see? I don't do this for myself. Can't they see beyond their immediate political ambitions? Me and a few people I work with, we are literally on our own. We have been dumped and abandoned. Some go even further and try to blame all this nonsense on us. It made me reflect on the 9 years at Fort Hare. It made me realize that it is a losing battle. We are surrounded by rot in the country, in its systems and so forth. He goes on to say, listen to this. He said the university had received information that there were attempts to stop the release of findings by the Special Investigated Unit into academic fraud at Fort Hare, and specifically in the cases of 33 high-ranking politicians. We know there are forces at work trying to stop this, he said. It is the outstanding part of the SIU investigation. While the first inkling of trouble was in May, more recently, Bulungu noticed that the campus was awash with money. So students had a lot of money suddenly on campus. Just yesterday, I received information that gallons and gallons of petrol were bought from a certain petrol station, and there is footage. The students were completely oblivious to the cameras. So we literally have politicians getting students to burn down universities to stop investigations into corruption at South African universities. Like, dude, how you can't? What the hell is going on? Like, surely this can't be. This isn't a real country, though, dude. Like, we don't live in a real country. We just don't. But this country is more like a movie. Like someone should just make. And then you have the stuff with Paul O'Sullivan. Did you guys see that? Oh, please tell me you guys saw the Paul O'Sullivan stuff. So the Paul O'Sullivan stuff is also super, super, super wild. Let me quickly see if I can show you guys this video. You guys have to forgive me. My second monitor, well, my first monitor broke. The backlight broke on it on Friday, and I don't currently have the funds to buy another monitor, so I'm on one monitor. So this is going to be a bit weird as I switch over to sharing. All right, so this video here.
Handed it over because Paul is simply an extension of this criminal enterprise.
Pause this. This guy. Did you guys watch this? Tell me you watched this, because it is quite insane. Yeah, Paul O'Sullivan was on Biz News last night. This is now in response to Paul O'Sullivan being on Biz News. So yes, this is the Montego CEO that says he has evidence that Paul O'Sullivan is a criminal himself. And just from based on what he said, it kind of sounds like Paul O'Sullivan goes after criminals in order to get the criminals out of the business so that he can send his criminal buddies into businesses. It's insane. And I remember I just watched that video and I was like, man, really? What? This country is just, everything's going to crap in a handbasket. It's insane. Maybe check out EveTech, the 27-inch, 3,500 when you can afford. Highly recommend. Oh, Dave, yeah, I'll probably buy another monitor next month or so. The last few months have just been very tight with a lot of stuff that I had to try and do. And I like to save up for things. I don't like just spending money one go. So yeah, I'll work towards it, and I'll probably buy something. I don't know how. The monitor wasn't even that old. It was like 5 years old, but it went. So, manipulation of the stock price, multi-organization. Mike, yes. But it sounds like Paul O'Sullivan, he was a crime fighter, but almost like a crime fighter for criminals. At least that's what the story sounds like. It's sort of like he has criminal friends that wants to do something, and then he fights the criminals that's already doing the thing. And once those criminals are out of the way, then his criminal friends go in, and now they become the criminals that's doing the thing. That's sort of what I gathered from that interview. Was like, okay, well, this is like, what the hell is going on here? I think Paul is playing the smart game here. He is letting the other players show their hand first and keeping plenty of aces. Ani Brandt, I wouldn't be. So I know all of this is, currently just speculation because we haven't seen like the actual evidence of anything yet. So I'm not jumping to conclusions on Paul O'Sullivan or anyone else, right? I'm not saying Paul O'Sullivan is definitely guilty. I'm not saying he's innocent either. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if Paul O'Sullivan is as corrupt as pretty much everyone else in this country. Because it appears to me that if you live in this country and you have had any sort of success whatsoever, the chances are that you are corrupt. That's how it appears to me. Point and then play both sides. Yeah, pretty much. Everyone is complaining about the helicopters that was uploaded and everyone forgot. The bigger question was what was offloaded. Can you say Gaslight? XRP, I haven't even read the story of the helicopters fully yet because I only saw the article before I went live now. So I just read one article. I haven't even read all of the other articles yet because I like to read multiple articles on the story. to get a sort of sense of exactly what had happened there. But it's sort of like the same thing that happened with the Russian plane. So after the Russian plane landed, all of our media, like all the South African media companies, wrote about it. Not a single one of them asked what was on the plane. Not one. They all just said, we don't know what was on the plane. And then I found some European sites that actually said insiders or inside sources confirmed that it was military equipment. And I was immediately like, well, why is News 24 and all of these other guys not pointing that out? It would seem like that's worthy of being pointed out, no? But of course, what do I know? You know, the media in South Africa has a very, shall we say, loose relationship with the truth, insofar as they loosely decide not to be truthful ever. So, what I'm trying to say is that we can expect bigger truths to come out of this timeline as everyone tries to cover themselves. Annie Brandt, that's the one thing I'm looking forward to, and that is that it's interesting. Like, it's interesting. Right? And I like interesting. Interesting is fun. And what's going on in the UK right now? I won't trust the British. Oh, that's another thing that I actually wanted to mention. So, I don't know how many of you watched my video today, but I was talking about the tariffs that's coming from Europe. We now have, so there are now currently 3 major economic blocks sort of that has tariffs on South Africa. America, obviously, first. Canada has tariffs on South Africa as well. And then now Europe is also going to implement tariffs on South Africa. So the world in South Africa is really getting tiny. Like, the world is getting small. You are correct. It's like the ultimate magic trick distraction. True. There is not one single government department that has not been stolen blind from our ANC comrades. Blexham, you are not wrong, sir. It's actually, in a strange way, it's actually a feat. You know, in a strange way, you should actually tip your hat to the government departments. I don't even know how you get an entire government to be corrupt. Like, every single facet of the government to be corrupt. I don't even know. Like, how could you, in all of the thousands and thousands of people that work for the government, and I mean in high-level positions, like, how do you not by accident stumble onto an honest worker? Like, just purely by accident, you should be able to get at least one honest worker. But in our government, it's literally just rot all the way down. That is a feat. That is one hell of a feat. To be honest, if I was black, felt depressed, and had keys to millions, would you be tempted? Daily, I personally wouldn't be. But then I got taught from a very young age that stealing is wrong. I didn't know this. My mom told me this years later, but when I was very little, I may have been, let's say 8 or 9 years old, right? My friend and I, so my mom and my friend's mom were very good friends, and that's how we met. Me and my best friend growing up. And we went into a store to, I don't know, my mom, our moms wanted to buy stuff. I don't know what they wanted to buy, but we were in the store, and going into the store, me and my friend decided to get some chocolates. I mean, look at me. Of course I got chocolates at the store, right? So we walked down the aisle, got our chocolate, and walked out with our parents, right? So my mom paid for the stuff, and we left. And as we're sitting in the car, I'm eating my chocolate, and my mom turns around and she's like, "Where did you get that?" And I'm like, "Well, from the store, of course." And my mom's like, "Did you pay for that?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, why would I pay for it? I'm just a child." I got a spanking for that. My friend who stole the same chocolate bar, his mum said, "Oh, cute." But I got a spanking for that. That night when my dad got home, I got a spanking. So yeah, I'm not a big stealer. Stealing is the one thing that I won't ever do. Government workers haven't got anything to do except find new ways of stealing our money. And they're good at it. They're really good at it. We need bingo cards for the commission and ad hoc committee. Dude, Cyril Ramaphosa's name has come up in the ad hoc commission as well as in Matlanga. And his response was, "I know nothing of this." It was like, oh, of course. This guy just never knows anything about anything. It's like it's so tragic. It's almost funny. Like every single time, the Paula Paula stuff. I don't know if you guys even remember the Paula Paula fiasco. What was his excuse with Paula Paula? I don't know. Don't know. What's a couch? Like that. That's sort of his response to everything. The implosion is coming. News already out. ANC might be bankrupt. Wait, who might be bankrupt? ANC. No, well, not might be. The ANC is bankrupt. The Grey Hour, how are you doing? No. The ANC is 100% bankrupt. The question is, will the ANC file for bankruptcy? Right, that's the big question we're all waiting for. If they were to file for bankruptcy, that would be the end of them. Right? That would be the end of them. Because, well, the issue is, in order to run for elections, they would need the money from the IEC. The IEC cannot pay them if they go insolvent. Because if the IEC were to pay them, that money would go straight to the people that they owe money to. And so the ANC would lose all of that money from the IEC immediately. So the ANC is sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. And what bothers me is that a political party that is bankrupt sits there with a straight face and tells us that they can fix the economy. That baffles me. Like, I don't know what to make about that. It's sort of like me going to the local homeless person and taking advice on the stock market. You know? Like, imagine you were just walking into your local Spar and one of the homeless people there started giving you advice on where to invest your money. Would you take that seriously? Of course not. This is a homeless person. What the hell do they know about where to invest your money? I remember just listening to Cyril Ramaphosa mouth off all of his 10 rules or 10 plans that he now has. And I just kept thinking, you're broke. Your party is broke. You should be the last person to be telling us how to fix this economy. You can't even fix your party's finances. And you want to fix us? Like, what are you talking about? They will never willingly go under. They will delay, deny, appeal, etc. until the cows come home. They'll probably be allowed to do it as well. Because here in South Africa, if you steal normally, you go to jail. If you steal big, it's fine. Just always remember that if you're gonna steal in this country, steal big. Like don't make small mistakes. Don't steal just like 100,000, couple of billion. You're good. You can do whatever you want then. Morons, if everything just deteriorates and keep paying taxes coming from a functioning country pre-ANC. So Dateleaf, the thing with taxes and why I, as a content creator, isn't allowed to partake in this conversation is, as far as I'm aware, it is a criminal offense to organize an anti-tax movement. Like, you can be taken to court, sued, and you can actually get jail time for organizing a sort of tax freeze. And so, as a content creator, and that's why you won't ever hear any content creator say stuff like that, because you can be sued. It's not necessarily that it will happen, but it can happen. And so the biggest issue with any sort of boycott, and I think this is the thing that makes the tax boycott just unlikely, you need to be able to convince enough people to do it that there's too many people to erase. And usually with stuff like this, people will chicken out as you get closer to that date. People will sort of go, oh, but what if I'm the only one and then I get into trouble? Oh, no, maybe I'm not going to do it. Right. So it's almost always going to be a nightmare to get that done. The sad part is corruption is so part of South Africa. Not being corrupted makes you look suspicious. XRP, you're actually not wrong. Like you almost look at honest politicians, although I'm not sure where the honest politicians are. But you look at honest politicians and you immediately think, I'm very suspicious of you. Like, why are you there? It's sort of like the Mkwanazi stuff. Like, the second Mkwanazi spoke, I was like, I love what he's saying, but I think he's corrupt too. I don't have any evidence of it. I'm just thinking to myself, if he's a top cop in South Africa under the ANC, probably corrupt. Like, that's a good bet, I feel like, right? Because, I don't know, everyone else is corrupt, so maybe he is too. I don't know. The right to self-determination is in our constitution. This first needs to be clarified before any other decision on taxes can be made. Also true. And a deep dive with the co-pilot paid into the TNCs and fair use, as long as you're not inciting, you're okay. Yeah. That's why I can speak about it, but I can't incite it, right? I can't say you guys shouldn't do it or you should do it. That's not for me to say. There are no honest politicians. Even if they don't steal, they all still lie. The greatest saying I've ever heard on that front comes from a man by the name of Michael Malice. If you've never listened to him, you should. Really funny guy. But he has this saying where he goes, everything they say is a lie, including and the, for politicians. Which, in my opinion, not wrong. That's pretty spot on, you know. It's who they are. Sadly, there's no way. I don't think there's a way around it. I think that's just the nature of the beast, right? We live in an era where I think people no longer want to hear the truth. People want to feel good, and they'll vote for anyone that makes them feel good. They don't want the truth. They don't want to hear that the government can't fix your life. The government can't make you happy. The government can't give you a job. They want to hear the government's going to create. It's one of the things that annoys me to no end about the DA's campaign promises. The DA promises to create 6 million jobs. How? How are you going to create 6 million jobs, DA? Government doesn't create jobs. All government can do is improve business relations to such an extent that businesses can create jobs. But government doesn't create jobs. The hell are you talking about? But of course, they have to say that because it doesn't sound as cool when you just go, we'll make it easier for people to start businesses. No one wants to hear that. That's not cool. 6 million jobs sounds amazing. DA starting to sound like Zuma from 2008-10, promising millions of jobs. Justin, I don't know what to make of the DA. I have not made up my mind about the DA yet. I'm definitely not a fan of the DA. But my problem with the DA isn't so much their economic policies or even their governance policies, I think they would probably make a decent government, at least to some extent. My bigger problem with them is social. The DA supports all of these pride events and gay nonsense and trans rights and all that nonsense. And I cannot support a party that is pro any of that. More importantly, I will not support a party that is pro abortion. And the last time I heard, the DA is very pro abortion. And I might still be able to support a party that goes, yeah, gay rights, that's cool. Like, okay, fine, gay rights, I don't care. I want people to have rights because you're a human being. That's your right. Abortion is the one right that I cannot support under any circumstances. In my mind, abortion is murder. And if you abort your child, you should be put to death for murder. And actually, the people who abort the children should go to jail, and the doctor should absolutely be put to death. Because it's murder, as far as I'm concerned. And if you abort your child, you're a murderer. It's as simple as that. I have no. There are no compromises that will be made. There are no positions where I will meet you halfway. That's my starting and final position. If you don't agree with that, you and I don't agree. Simple as that, right? And if a political party supports abortion, in my mind, they're murderers. They're okay with murder. And so I can't support that, right? In front next season, I will never tell you who I'm voting for. I will bash all political parties if they do stupid crap, right? But I will never tell you who I'm voting for or who you should vote for. That has nothing to do with me. Damn, then I shouldn't have listened to my father and went to college, then get a job. What do you mean? I'm all for gay rights, but I don't support abortion. Okay, well, I appreciate that at least. I appreciate that you and I agree on that at least. I don't like the arguments for abortion. The stupidest argument I've ever heard is her body, her choice. And it's like, well, she did have a choice. She used her body to have sex. It's not that she doesn't, it's not that I'm taking away her choice. She doesn't want to deal with consequences. That's a whole different discussion. South Africa, it seems, has lost its sense of morality in many, many aspects. Oh, Mike, it's not just South Africa. I mean, this is a worldwide phenomenon. And there is one argument to be made that the fact that so many women, specifically women, but some men as well, want to kill their babies is already a signal that we have lost, right? Like the moral battle has been lost and people's immorality is on full display. Because it's absolutely astounding to me how many women will literally protest for the right to kill their babies. Like, I don't understand that. Like, they'll go into actual meltdowns for the right to murder their babies. I'm not even sure how bad abortion is in South Africa, though. I have to be honest with you. Because this is sort of very first world problems, I feel like. These are the kinds of problems you see in Europe and America, right? Where they have the gay and the trans right issues and they have the abortion issues. Here in South Africa, life's so hard that we can't even begin to worry about that crap, right? It's sort of like just, man, we have so many other things to worry about. This is barely even registering. Change one comes from two sides, far left and far right, and the middle is exactly that middle. It will never change, and the DA is that. That's why they are in the GNU. I don't think the DA is in the middle. The DA, as far as I'm concerned, is a left-wing party. They're not far left, right? So the DA isn't as far left as the ANC or the EFF, sure, but they are a left-wing party. The DA doesn't hold a single conservative position. Not a single one. Every single position the DA holds is a liberal one. So, yeah, I don't see them as centrist. I would say the most centrist party we have in South Africa is probably Freedom Front Plus. They're center right, but they're the closest to the center of all political parties, with a slight leaning to the right. But we definitely don't have, I think, any true centrist parties in South Africa, and we definitely don't have any proper conservative parties. I mean, hard right conservative parties. The Freedom Front Plus, it's the closest. I think the problem with the Freedom Front Plus is the legacy of the Freedom Front Plus. When they started, they were very much a party that was sort of anti-democracy, right? Anti the new South Africa, very much focused on the racial battle. And I think that's always going to count against them. That legacy, I don't think they're ever going to escape. Not saying from my side, I couldn't care less, right? From my perspective, I think they have good leaders, although I do feel like they're a bit old. I don't know if I'm ageist or whatever, but I feel like the Freedom Front is very disconnected, if that makes sense. I don't think they speak to the young people of this country, and I don't think they have the ability to really mobilize the young people of this country to actually go and vote for them. But I feel like the Freedom Front, they have some good views. I think the thing that's going to hurt them always is just the image that they have, the legacy of them. If I were them, I would change my name. Right? I would go through a massive rebrand, and I would actually change the name from Freedom Front to something else. Domago, how you doing, bro? They're able to change over time, something the ANC has themselves trapped in. Also true. They're playing they're playing it smart, like a renewed liberalism flavored conservative party. It's kind of funny. The first time I vote in elections, DA wins with ANC. Oh crap! Republicans and Democrats. I also think we just have Democrats. True. In my 20s, and plenty of people in my age and younger support Freedom Front Plus, and I don't want Freedom Front Plus to rebrand since I like their legacy and agree with much of it. J-Wall, the problem is no party in South Africa that caters to just one racial group will ever win the elections in this country. And when I say one racial group, I actually do mean that. Because if you were to speak, so I grew up in the north of our country, right? And the people that I worked with were Sepedi people. If you call a Sepedi person the same as a Zulu person, if you tell them there's no difference between you and a Zulu, that Sepedi person will murder you. They'll see that as an incredible insult. They don't like the Zulu and they don't care. The same for the Xhosa. They don't like the Xhosa and they don't care. The same is true for the Venda. The Zulu and the Xhosa despise each other. And I know this because at university, one of the girls who was studying with us was a Xhosa girl. And one of the guys I was friends with him actually. He was a Zulu guy from KwaZulu-Natal. And they fell in love. And he took almost 3 months to get the courage to go tell his father that he had fallen in love with a Xhosa woman. And apparently his father said no. So they eventually had to break up. So when you look at the different tribes in South Africa, they are effectively their own racial groups, as it were. And so any party that just focuses on one will never win the election. You need a party that can cross all of those racial boundaries and speak to the heart of the people of this country. In my view, that lies with young people. We need a movement at university. We need a movement that focuses on faith, that focuses on conservative values, that focuses on good governance, so that young people learn what does capitalism actually mean? What does a conservative government actually consist of? Right? And it has to start at university. It can't start once people are 30 years old. That's not going to work. It has to start at university. So you need to move into the university and you have to convince university students that conservatism is the answer. From there, right, you have to start uniting people from every single race, culture, and creed in this country under that conservative banner. That's the party that wins the election. Cater several racial groups, and if one party caters to one ethnicity, then they will likely cater to some adjacent ethnic groups as well. Yeah, well, the issue is for the handful of people that they will cater to that aren't white, right? They'll exclude more, right? And I know this because there's plenty of black people who look at the Freedom Front and remember their formation. Right? They were formed as sort of direct resistance against the ANC, against the Democratic South Africa, not believing that it will work. I recognize that since then they have changed their views considerably. The problem is first impressions lost, you know? Once you're remembered for something, it's sort of like if you were to try and bring back the National Party, right? Let's say you dreamt up a new political party and you called it the National Party. You will never win an election in this country, ever. It'll never happen. Because every single person that sees the name of that party will just remember, oh, the apartheid government. It doesn't matter what you stand for. You could be the most inclusive party on earth. You will never win an election because you have that sort of legacy that you're attached to, you know? And that I don't think you can escape. I don't think you'll ever get away from that. All right, boys. I really appreciated all of you coming out. It's been a lot of fun. I actually planned on literally just doing an hour, and we almost went to 2 hours tonight. This is the, well, hopefully new and improved Zete report, where I do a bit more informal, going through the different stories and having conversations with you guys, rather than what I did in the first episode, which was a little bit more just like boom, 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 right? Story after story, not really talking to chat all that much, trying to focus on the stories. I hated that. That wasn't a lot of fun for me. And so I had a lot more fun this way because I like conversing with chat. But you guys can let me know in the comment section of this VOD. What do you think? What do you like best? Did you like the previous one where I was just doing the sort of hard-hitting stories, or did you like this a bit more, where I'm also chatting to you and it's sort of like a back and forth rather than just me mouthing off a bunch of information at you, sort of like doing a live video, I guess you could call it. But yeah, I truly appreciate all of you for coming out and for hanging out with me and for spending time with me. The next Zete report, I can't tell you when it'll be, but it'll maybe this week we'll do another one. Maybe we'll try a different time. I'll keep playing around with it until I find the right time for it, right? So either 2:00 in the afternoon, 7:00 in the evening. I'll keep playing around with it until I can find an actual time that works for everyone, and that I find works the best. So please keep me in the loop of what you guys think in the comment section so I know where we are. But I want to thank all of you that came out, that hang out with me. No, I don't want to copy Ronaldo's time because I want people to be able to watch Ronaldo's streams as well, right? So I would prefer if I don't have to stream when Ronaldo streams, and moreover, I can't really do later in the evenings because I'm about to go to bed. I should be in bed already. Actually, no, I should be starting Bible study in about 15 minutes from now, right? But I know because I just finished streaming. Now I'm gonna be hyped for the next hour or so. And so I have to wait to calm down a little bit from the stream so that I can do Bible study and, pray and all that and get ready for bed and then go sleep. So I'm gonna be late today. And then tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I'm up again to go to the gym. So tomorrow's gonna be a rough day. That's gonna be super fun. But I will keep playing around until I find a time that actually works. And then we'll see at that time how often we can do this. Because I definitely want to stream more. Be that on YouTube or on Twitch. I don't know yet. We'll see. But I definitely want to stream more. I want to hang out with you guys more. And I want to make more videos. So, look out for tomorrow. There's going to be more videos. There's always more videos. But I really appreciate all of you for coming out, for hanging out with me, for spending your evening with me. I hope it was a fun Monday. I had a lot of fun with you guys. So please remember to hit that like button if you have not already. Hit that subscribe button. We're on our march to 50K. I really want to hit that big 5-0. It'll be the first channel ever that I take to 50. And I'm really looking forward to it. We're about 4K away from my previous... Actually, no. We're about 6K away from my previous high. My previous channel was about 47,900 at its peak. So yeah, if you can do that for me, that'd be great. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, be good to each other, be kind to each other. And I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.